my sister is my person. She's my person. And so, I remember when I told her this, uh, she just looked at me and said, like, you know, this is it. This is it. We've been working towards this moment and try to enjoy it for all that it is. And yeah, we're just trying to do that now.
Today on Had to Ask, I'm joined by an artist who has been catapulted into one of the most iconic universes in pop culture. Burke Swanson is currently starring as James Hopper Jr. in the stage adaptation of Stranger Things, The First Shadow. Whether you're a diehard Stranger Things fan or going to see a Broadway show for the very first time, Stranger Things is definitely the one to see. Today, we're talking about stepping into the spectacle of this iconic role, becoming part of a multi billion-dollar fandom, and what it means to build a community that lifts you up. Please welcome the wildly talented Burke Swanson. Not to be confused with Ron Swanson, the bacon loving fiend, but do
Mhm.
you also love bacon?
I do also love bacon.
Great. It's a
And
Swanson trait.
as we've talked about today, I'm not a part of the Swanson broth family as well. So there's no fears on that. This is a no dynasty conversation.
I'm really sad. I was hoping that you would be a nepo baby of some sort and I could
Yeah.
latch on.
It certainly, I mean, in some regards, it would have been awesome. It
It
would
would
have
have
been
been
awesome,
great.
to just have an in, but
I love it.
we're working it out here. We're working it.
Well, we've got the incredible Burke Swanson, who you may or may not have seen in the incredible Back to the Future. And now this lovely human is in a show that is so scary, but so good. It's what is it?
Stranger Things, the first shadow.
The prequel. Or I actually consider it more of an origin story.
Thank you. I agree with you. I mean,
Yes.
Sonia Friedman, our producer, would certainly agree with you. It's one of those shows where obviously the TV show is as big as it is. It's like possibly the biggest IP out of the streaming era. And so many people already have a relationship with the TV show and the characters from that. But this show is really interested in bringing you to the beginning. And so if you've never seen the show, that's a great place to start. But if you have, then it's going to give you all sorts of little details for that season 5 that is yet to be seen.
Oh my goodness, I could not be more excited. I was there in the audience opening night, and anytime there was a gasp, it was probably me gasping. Every time there was someone screaming, it was also me. I was so gooped and gagged, and it was incredible.
I mean, I think that's the exact way that we're hoping that you'll have the experience. I every single night there's certain moments. In a musical, it'd be like, here's where we expect a clap, or here's where we expect the standing ovation. But and this one, this is where we expect the scream. This is where we expect the gasp. I think we had one of our friends was in maybe like row 3 or 4, and there's definitely a splash zone in this show. The first like 5 rows, you are definitely in it in more ways than one. But somebody in the first 2 rows had their, pre-show drink in their
Oh,
in their nice souvenir cup, and they screamed so loudly that they threw it up into the air, and all of whatever was in its container went all over the back
Burke, I
three
knew
rows.
the show was immersive, but this is next
Yeah, that's
level.
definitely the unplanned for 4D experience. I'm not sure you'll get that with your ticket, but you could, and so, come check it out.
Before we dive in deep, there are a few questions I had to ask. Number one, do you personally feel you would survive the upside down?
Oh my goodness. I'd certainly love to believe so. My father is sort of a cowboy in another life, and so we've
Mm.
spent a lot of time in the woods and out off the grid, and so I'd like to believe I'd have a little bit of a chance. I like the Steve approach of the bat with the barbed wire on top of it and really getting into the mix of it all. But I really do think it is a communal effort when you're in the upside down,
Yes.
because Vecna and the Demogorgons and the Demodogs and the Demobats and all these Demo things, they've really got the upper hand. So I would need a good team with me.
That makes me think about the fact that, like, of survival and, like, you would have to have your bat and your all your things, right? If you were in a zombie apocalypse, what would be your weapon of choice?
Ooh, that's a great question. What would be my weapon of choice? I feel like, um, for me, anything that's going to allow you to keep the distance
Yes.
as much as possible, whether that's, even like, I think of just like a long staff, something to just keep distance with you. right? I think for me personally, I would go much more for the camouflage approach of just like avoid, avoid, avoid. That would be my tactic. But
Okay. So I have a lot of feelings about this. Yes, I agree. I was a huge fan of The Walking Dead. I love Michonne with her katana. I'm like,
yeah,
get people away.
uh
That being said, honestly,
huh.
if we're at a point in a zombie apocalypse or we're somewhere real deep in the upside down where like there's no more iced coffee, we're eating everything we're eating is from like cans that expired 10
Hands.
years ago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't think I want to be in that anymore. I'm going straight into a demigorgon. Just take me out.
Well, I think that that's the probably the reality of the situation is that there's very few of us who are really made for that environment. But I do think that there is sort of there's so much context, right? I'm thinking about The Last of Us, like who do you fight for? Like who's
Yes.
really the monster? Is it the monsters themselves or is it us? And I certainly would not want to get to a point where I'm looking at myself in the mirror and going, "Hey, Joel." That would be a little bit of a bummer.
It'd be a little bit
Um,
of a bummer.
but everybody's got their growth, so we'll see how it is. I'll choose my katana for now and
I like it.
and
I
go from
like it.
there.
Do you have stage combat skills in that manner?
I do. I actually, way back when I in college, I was certified in hand to hand and rapier dagger.
Me too.
Yes, rock
Yes,
on.
I love it.
It's one of my favorite parts about the theatrical experience is how do you bring these really high intense physical moments in a way that is exciting for the audience but also extremely safe. And I think that when we think about that and intimacy by design and all these sorts of things, it's how do we allow the creativity to flourish within a space that is also raw and kind of in the moment. And I think stage combat is just like one of those great art forms.
There really
Mhm.
should be multiple awards for stage combat because,
Yes.
well, stage combat and
Stunt work
stunts.
for film, TV. I mean, the fact that we aren't at that point, I think, is such a huge disservice to the amount of work that those folks have historically always put in. But I mean, I was looking at the stuff from the new Marvel movie, and some of the stunts that they were doing. I mean, jumping off the side of buildings and everything else. Like the idea that there's not somebody who's put in or a group of people who's put in an immense amount of work to ensure the safety of the face of an entire IP, I just think is it's certainly not helping. It's certainly
No,
not helping by not recognizing those folks. So maybe in the next couple of years we'll get that going.
absolutely. And I don't want to skip over Back to the Future because Back to the Future is incredible, but we have to talk about the behind the scenes for Stranger Things
Yeah.
because the scenic design, the sound design,
Yes.
I have never seen a show at that caliber that is so detail oriented. One moment that had me uncontrollably just terrified is I was watching The Mouse and the Wheel, and
Mm,
then that moment happened, and I was like, I have to leave. I can't
yeah.
be here.
It's certainly one of those shows that I mean, literally within the first 5 minutes of the show, you have one of the biggest technical feats to ever occur in theatrical history, and then it just builds from there. I mean, it's one of these shows that just does not stop, and, they had such high success in the West End, um, and when they came to Broadway, they were not interested at all in repeating themselves.
Mhm.
They wanted to elevate, and so, the Special Tony Award that our visual effects special effects team just received, is so well deserved, and I think that people, when they come see the show, they're gonna realize, like, how integral every element is. It's the sound designs, the scenic designs, costume design, lighting design, sound design. All these things are elevating those visual effects. And it really was a team effort throughout the whole thing. When I looked out during our tech process, usually there's maybe, 10 tables hanging out, right? But it was a full house in the orchestra of just people trying to make sure that the tech was at the highest level that it could be. And you're totally right. Not only you, but everybody who comes to see the show, you'll never have seen things like this before. This is a, first time sort of experience.
And you've been a part of several projects that are just so high in production value. I mean, the car
Yeah, I
in
mean,
Back to the Future, among so many other things, I was just like, "Ow."
I'm finding this is my first show, my Broadway debut was in the 50s as well. And I'm finding that I'm getting this like 80s to 50s
I
track
like
really
it.
down. I'm the groove is definitely happening. But yeah, Back to the Future was no less, and a lot of the same magic team is working on Stranger Things as it was Back to the Future. So everything that you loved about Back to the Future technically is going to be in this show. Just a little bit less song and dance. But yeah, no, I think what it is like working with with that team is just it's so joyful, and I didn't really get to experience it on Back to the Future because it was the first national tour. They had already sort of laid out the groundwork. We were there to see how it would adjust and change as you're traveling to all these different theaters, right? Like, the car has to fly in every theater, right? Like, that's what they're shooting for,
I
right?
don't know how that could possibly happen.
Yeah, I mean, so many things had to adapt and change, and what's so beautiful about this team is that they are like kids in a candy shop when it comes to this stuff. I mean, the amount of times that we when talking about the cat when you come see our show, old Prancer, right? All those different things,
I was damaged by
yeah.
multiple cat instances, and I was like,
There's lots
"Somebody
of
take
cat
me
trauma
out
in
of
this.
here.
Lots of cat trauma
I
going on
don't
in this
like
one.
it."
But these people, this is their art. This is their art. And they're so passionate about it, and they're so passionate to share it with us. In rehearsals, I would just sit back there watching them design these different things because not only did they have the idea, did they know how it worked in the West End, but now they were being inspired by us in the rehearsal room and taking it that next step and that next step and the next step. And it's just a really beautiful, small example of something that has really big consequences when that collaboration is so fervent in the rehearsal process.
And really, it's not like these effects are gratuitous. They're not unnecessary. They really drive the plot forward. And I just feel when I left Back to the Future for the first time and when I left Stranger Things for the first time, I just went, wow, what a beautiful thing it is to be in this industry where so many people help tell stories of such a high caliber and that also bring joy. While Stranger Things brought me a lot of other emotions, Back to the Future and Stranger Things bring joy.
I think, we're talking about two. I mean, if Stranger Things is the biggest IP of the streaming era, then Back to the Future is possibly the biggest IP of the 20th century. You know what I'm saying? Like, that show and that story and those characters connected with people in a really intense way that I fully did not comprehend when I signed on to the project and when I joined it. Like, I was just really excited to play, somebody with so much heart who was having a really hard time expressing it and all that kind of stuff and getting to do some fun little physical comedy stuff. And then I go out onto this show and, Back to the Future is pretty much that is really that first movie, front to end, right? Not a ton changes in terms of the story and even the lines because people wanted to experience the first movie as if it was the first time again. But, for all the love and passion that goes into the tech that people really expect, what comes down to it is I think it is really at the heart of it all. I mean, Back to the Future, there was countless examples in which I met people, grown men who had never seen a musical before at the stage door. And those same grown men, if it was just tech, I don't think that we would have had in the big climactic moment, George versus Biff, will George stand up for Lorraine and all that's going on there, right? Grown men, never seen a musical before, standing up, yelling, "Come on, George, get him, George, get him, George." And that story has been told from every single person who has had the really incredible opportunity to play George. Hugh talked about it a lot. And I thought, okay, maybe that's just a Broadway thing, but no, it is
No.
across the country. And what that shows to you is that these stories, for all of their technical prowess, at the end of the day, theater is theater, and theater is storytelling. Theater is the expression of breath in a communal fashion. It is the ensemble and the audience coming together to tell a story in a different way that night. And what makes me so happy about Stranger Things is it is just taking it to the next level. And it's really, really special to have people coming out to our stage door and even just to the shows and, like, reaching out on Instagram who have never seen a Broadway show, travel to New York just to see it. I think right now it's like 65%.
65%.
65% of our audience has never seen a Broadway show before, and when you think about the consequences of that for our whole industry and for our art form, I mean, it makes me really, really emotional because it is an investment in our future, our collective future, and maybe it isn't a traditional Broadway play. Like the shows nominated for Tony Best Play, like those are great examples of plays, and every single one of them is a testament to this art form. And I hope that folks also realize that ours is as well, because what it is doing is ensuring that plays like English, plays like John Proctor, they
Mm.
can continue to be having an audience that may not have found them in the first place. And if we can be a small part of that, that to me is one of the most fulfilling things possible within this career.
You are a huge part of that, Burke. You
Oh,
absolutely
thank you.
are, and I hope you feel that. I think just being in the industry for quite a bit of time, I find that everybody has an opinion about something, and I don't necessarily feel that those opinions are warranted because it's like, "Oh, you're just in Stranger Things," or, "Oh, you're in Back to the Future," and I'm like, "This is art, and this is bringing people joy, and that has value."
Mm.
Like, what about those people who the 65% of the audiences who are coming to see Stranger Things who literally they could be in their 30s, their 40s, and they've never seen a Broadway show. If this is what it takes to get them to the show and then they see what is possible, and then they're a fan for life. Like, I wanna talk about your bracelets really quickly because
Oh, yeah.
these are from some fans of yours.
Sure, yeah, no, I mean, I think this is a real classic example of it. I don't know if you can really see it on there, but we've got a BTTF for Back to the Future. We got a 1959 and a Hawkins, and a a kid from, Eugene, Oregon came and saw us when we were there, last November, December timeframe, and, for Back to the Future, and we were doing the red bucket, and
Ah,
collecting donations and everything else, and I got into this conversation with this kid who was just so ecstatic to be there, and we were talking about bands and music and everything else, and all of a sudden I go out to the stage door here at one of our previews, and there she is, and she's got these
ah.
bracelets for me, and she came out here to see the show for that experience and to share that, and we talked more about the bands and everything else, and it was this really, really incredible moment, where the impact of collective storytelling is so clear to me because what's a kid saying, "I wanna go to New York and see Stranger Things," like, let's make an entire effort. The amount of time, commitment, money, logistics that have to go into that, I mean, God bless their parents.
Yes,
You know, like
yes.
I mean, there's just so much that goes into an experience. I think people in New York often take for granted how close we are to what many consider the epicenter of all art forms, not just theater, but just performance and every single form that you can think of, right? Things that haven't even been created or being created here in New York City. And I think take for granted when we have to get on the C train. And it
Good
stays
old C
a little
train.
extra longer in that tunnel, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna be late for my whatever. We forget how accessible we have it. And for folks across the country, across the world, this is something that people get really, really excited about. And it's nice to have that much excitement for the Broadway community right now because the pandemic took a chunk, the strikes took a chunk, right? We're all trying to build back to, even better futures right now. And so shout out to my friends over in Eugene, Oregon, and thanks for the bracelets. They're treating me well.
For reference, we were talking about how amazing they are beforehand, so you're a real one. Thanks, girl.
Yeah.
One thing that really strikes me is the idea that you've just had a journey the past few years. I mean, also between Back to the Future and Stranger Things, you had 10 days approximately?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It was a, it was a little quick turnaround there. I went and hid out in my parents' place in the Southwest and just I took 5 days to just do nothing and hang out with my people and try to reset and remember that grounding energy of like, why are we doing this? And all the people who supported me in that moment. And then it was 5 days of like, okay, now I need to memorize this entire script, which, to Kate Tree Fry, our writer's credit, it is so filled to the gills with story and character that it was just like some of the most fun 5 days, me and my cowboy boots walking
Oh,
around in the woods,
yeah.
trying to find this younger version of Hopper, and so much material to glean from. So it was a lot of fun, but it was certainly a quick turnaround. It's been a bit of a chaotic ride, but I'm loving it.
I think the best rides are often chaotic.
Yes, 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 yes. I'm definitely somebody who enjoys like I miss having a car. I miss driving around and because to me, like some of my best memories about theater is driving back from a show at my high school or like driving back from a rehearsal and like full windows down, blasting whatever music is on the radio and just like that sort of exhilaration moment. And what's kind of wild is I feel like I'm experiencing that without the car. The C train, luckily the windows are up, but
Sometimes I wish they were down because sometimes they smell bad.
well,
That's
the
not
summer
it.
is coming. The summer is coming.
It's true. If you have never been in New York City in the summer, especially in the subway trains, especially in the sea, it is like stepping into the pits of hell.
Yeah, yeah, it's a really special gift that the city offers unto us. Generations and generations of New Yorkers have really left their mark. in a way that is all encompassing.
It's a rite of passage, and
Yes.
honestly, I mean, as New Yorkers, we love to talk badly about the train, but what an incredible place to live. What an incredible transit system. Yay, transit system and transit workers. Just
Yeah,
shout out.
absolutely. I mean, like, yeah, you can easily look at across the country and or across the world, really, and find maybe more efficient transit systems. But I mean, look, I was in LA for a month for Back to the Future, and I had to take an Uber every single day
Always.
because, respectfully, the transit system there is non-existent. It's non-existent, really.
Correct.
And so I just ever grateful to be in New York where I can get on a train when I realize the Uber is going to take too long and everything else.
Okay, finish the sentence. Hawkins is a town where.
Hawkins is a town where community is possible against all odds. And I actually was this might take us back a little bit, but I was thinking about the tech aspect and how many people, like special effects, stage combat, the safety of it all, right? But I think our show really is emblematic of that. Hawkins itself is this sort of, I mean, it's not a real town, right? It's a fantasy town. But in that town, you have all manner of socioeconomic status, you have all manner of background, you have all manner of jobs. And there is a community attempting to figure it out together. Now, you could argue that they may be doing it efficiently or not efficiently. I mean, as we saw in season 4, it's getting a bit trepidatious,
That's
as
being kind.
yeah, it's getting a bit trepidatious. So, there's all sorts of things that can still happen in those fantasy towns, but we were really adamant about having it be about a community. I mean, our show has 34 people in the like in the entire company, and that includes swings, covers, understudies, and all of them are on stage every single night.
And 20 have made their Broadway
20 have made
debuts.
their Broadway debut. And so you
Incredible.
have on stage alone a true small town community that is, just by proxy of them existing, like bringing their own voices to it all. Then you have our directors, Stephen Daldry and Justin Martin, who were determined to have a 5-act play occur from, security guard to the left. So you can watch any part of the show and experience that. And then on top of that, you have one of the best crews on Broadway, making sure that it all is running and continuing to run 8 times a week. Yeah.
Wow. Just wow. I want to bring you back to 2016, sitting on your couch with your sister in the dark. Why did you watch that in the dark? Stranger Things is scary enough, but you were there with your sister watching Stranger Things.
Yeah.
And now you're actually in the show on Broadway, getting to be a part of something so incredible and moving to so many people.
Yeah,
How
it's
does
I mean,
that
it's moving to me. I'm tearing
feel?
up right now. I mean, my sister Emma is, you know, within the arts as well. She's a makeup designer and special effects makeup and everything else. And I remember when I told her about this, we both just started laughing because we were watching that show in the middle of the night because we were so passionate about what this story could be, and we wanted to drag it out one episode a night because we wanted to theorize and we wanted to come up with what was going to happen and live in sort of the little anxiety of like our favorite characters being in really stressful situations. And to think that I am now one of those characters in really stressful situations, she and her partner and the rest of my family were here a couple weeks back seeing the show for the first time, and it was so cool to watch her partner and her and my dad trying to break it down, like, what could this mean? What could that mean? And for me to just stay silent so that no, season 5 spoilers would come out, and also just to encourage them to continue to think about it, um, is certainly one of the most special moments of my life, not just in my career. Um, you know, my sister is my person. She's my person. And so, I remember when I told her this, uh, she just looked at me and said, like, you know, this is it. This is it. We've been working towards this moment and try to enjoy it for all that it is. And yeah, we're just trying to do that now. It's all pretty crazy.
I love it. I'm
Yeah.
so happy for you. I think it's easy to look at people and go, wow, what an overnight success. But none of this comes without a village of people lifting
Yeah.
you up. Every self tape that comes your way, and you're just like, again, I'm tired. I am
Yeah.
tired. I don't want to have, I don't want to memorize these lines. I don't want to have to light myself and then I have to edit. And then now they want a full body
No, they
photo.
want full body in these small apartments and everything else. And, there's just so many things that can really take you away from what the point was in the beginning, which is, I think a lot of us were theater kids hiding from the cafeteria at lunch in our theater classrooms and trying to hang out with people who were willing to be playful and silly. And and accept you who you were at whatever time that was as you were figuring it out. And you know, as this has been going, I think there are certainly moments where that risk of forgetting what it is all about has certainly happened for me. But I think the benefit of the time in which it takes is that you realize again and again perseverance, grit, community collaboration, those things can really lead you to some really lovely, lovely moments within this, this entire industry. I had the pleasure of being at the Drama League Awards this past week, and we were honoring Louis McCartney, who is so well deserved that Distinguished Performance nomination. But obviously, you're in a room with some of the greatest performers and directors, and technical proficientos, however you want to say it, like in the industry. But also, you're in a space in which Whitney White had this incredible, incredible speech about the state of the art right now, right now. And it's acknowledging everything that's going on a national political level, but it's also acknowledging like what it will take for us as a community and why we are in that room in the drama league. Because awards can be awards, right? Like you can sometimes feel like, what is this really for? Is this for for a marketing thing? Is this for the directors? Is this for producers? Is this for me? Like, what's happening here? There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise. Aren't we here just trying to tell stories? And like, isn't that enough? And I walked away with a very different experience, mainly because of Whitney White. Because what she reminded me of is that institutions like the Drama League are very few and far between. There's not a lot of institutions that are actively funding and mentoring the next generation of directors. And golly, if I can be honest, God damn it, if I cannot be, if I can be a part of that where we are evoking the art form, even in incredibly troubling times, incredibly scary times, I just don't, for me personally, I know that that's just the direction that I've got to go in. And I think that everybody in this community knows that how impactful the arts are. Now we're just trying to remind rather, the people around us, like how important those art forms are. That was a little bit of a tangent. Yeah, it's a very nostalgic time. And it feels very inspirational time. Um, there's so much great art. One of our swings, Malcolm, was talking about seeing some of the different shows, and he was just talking about how exciting is it that to be a part of that next generation of theater makers. And it's so incredible to have people like Whitney White and you know her mentors who gave her the space to collaborate, to express, to try, to experiment, right? You know, and there's something really powerful to be gleaned from that. So exciting, exciting stuff. You and I find ourselves in.
1,000,000%. I love the idea of people around you giving you the space to try because you fail sometimes when you try, but also sometimes you succeed. And I think as artists and as artists in this industry, it can be really scary to try something new, especially when there's not a blueprint. Um, where are you in your space of feeling like an artist right now? Like, where are you in your heart of like, do you feel like you are stepping into the spotlight and that do you feel like you've earned it?
I think that I'm having to allow myself the opportunity to celebrate right now. I think that there was a lot of time where I spent my time in this industry and in this career purely auditioning, purely auditioning. And in that space, for me personally, what it became about was put your head down and go. And it was this sort of blatant, maybe some would say naive, um, faith in the fact that this is where I'm supposed to be, and this is the way that my art form manifests. I identify more as a performing artist than I do an actor. I think acting is but one expression of that. I write and produce
You do
experimental
so many
poetry.
things.
My collaborator, Quentin Staley with JMP Collective, like we, have produced, devised theater and those sorts of things with incredible collaborators outside of, the Broadway space. And I think that that's as important too. And I think what, going to the Savannah College of Art and Design taught me was that, your art can manifest in so many different ways. And so I really think that I've been cultivating that for a long time. And what's really nice right now is that it feels like a sustained moment of where I'm getting to express it in the way that I hoped that I would. and getting to see what that's like and getting to meet people who are also on that journey. I mean, I'm thinking about last night. I mean, we're open now, right? Like technically this
Yeah,
show is quote unquote frozen.
yeah.
But as human beings and as artists, you cannot help but to continue to explore and to continue to groove out your way through these stories and to not only do that for yourself, but to advocate for the stories that other people are telling. And I'm thinking about the trio of it all, the intrepid trio of Stranger
The
Things, which
Scooby
is
Doo
the
crew.
Scooby Doo crew within the Chernobyl landscape of it all, with Juan Carlos playing Bob and with Allison Jay playing Joyce.
They're both incredible, by the way.
True, true, unbelievable forces to be seen. And when we get together, it's so playful and so fun. And also, for me last night, there was a lot of things that, from a perspective of consistency for us, like were very different than what had usually occurred. And certain technical elements, but also just ourselves, right? And when you have that moment, TR Knight, who is my roommate and he plays Victor
Bless
Creel.
that man. George, I love you. Also, you're very talented in the show, but I also love you.
Yes,
Hi,
yeah.
Tier Night.
And I love TR as well, and TR just talked about it, it's the problem solving, right, of the
Mm.
artist, where the artist is out there to, inspire the emotion that is required for the story to continue moving forward, and in that moment, things will always be shifting and changing based on the audience and technical and everything else, and in that moment, that is the power of sustaining a life in this art form, is your brain getting better at problem solving in the moment, and when I think about Juan, when I think about Allison, and the countless scenes that we have together, we are constantly pushing each other forward to recheck into the story and refine the story and to evoke this story anew every single time. And so for me right now, to answer your true initial question, is I feel like I'm in a really incredible season of collaboration where it is everybody on stage, whether it's the trio or whether it's, our incredible ensemble and everybody is trying to bring their best to this process. And not just because there's Tony nominations, but because there are people who are seeing this show for the first time. And that matters. That matters.
It absolutely matters. And I think when it stops mattering, then you have to take a step back as a performer and as an artist and go, okay, something's not right, like here to here. Like we got to check in with ourselves because I've definitely been a part of projects where I'm just not in it.
Yeah.
And the fact that we get to play for a living, the fact that you get to come out kinda Ghostbusters style with your Scooby Doo crew and play,
Yeah.
what a gift that is.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you would have experienced this. Sometimes it's just like you didn't get sleep. And the coffee's hitting weird.
It's a
And
little weird.
I should have gone with matcha or I should have eaten before this. Like there's so many things that like go into when our body is the vehicle in which, we're performing um through. There's so many things that can happen
Mm.
and that can sort of pull you away from and everything else. And there will be days where you're just like, God, this is really hard. I mean, this show is a beast. It's
Yeah,
like
it's a
2 hours and
beast.
2.5 hours, 2:45, and it is a nonstop sprint. It is we're sprinting a marathon right now. And when you get to that eighth show, and we're doing like a tour schedule, so we have Friday night, 2 shows on Saturday, 2 shows on Sunday, right? And when you get to that Sunday night, your body is a little bit like, please, Monday, come already,
Yes.
And there's a really intense moment there. But in that place, and you look around and you breathe together, there's a lot that can come. There's a lot that can come from that. And in that moment, I just think about what's the old, it's like a spiritual teaching notion about the saint who described his body as an ass. It's the mule that he has to take care of
Oh,
along this way. My soul, my spirit is in the center, and that is the true being. But I have to take care of this body as I go forth. And the people who are helping take care of my spirit and my body are in this show. And that is really special. That's
that
really,
is a
really special.
gift. That's an
Very happy to
absolute
be here.
gift.
Very happy to be here.
Do you feel pressure though with the fandom and knowing that, Stranger Things fans of the series are looking at you and being like, "Wait, what was this thing from David Harbour? What are the connections?" Do you feel an intense pressure?
I think I had a chance to figure that out a little bit with George
Mm,
McFly on Back to the Future, and talk about another great ensemble
mm,
of people who are just like inspiring joy every single day through
yeah.
movement and song, and making it really easy for me to play. So shout out to those folks as well. But George is one of those people who people have a very clear idea of what Crispin Glover did, right? And Crispin Glover is is the guy, right?
Yes.
Like I'm hoping to evoke some of that. But what I found is that, the benefit of audiences being so passionate about it is honestly they fill in so many of the blanks. You're gonna see innately what you hope to see because
Right.
this show matters to you, right? And so for my job is to make that as easy as possible for you. And so in that regard, for me, on top of the fact that this character is 30 years younger, hasn't gone to Vietnam, hasn't been a New York cop
You
yet,
haven't been to
hasn't
Vietnam yet in real
no,
life either?
no, not
What?
either. No, thank goodness
Mm-mm.
not. Glad we're past that moment.
Yes.
Let's never do that again. But
No.
like there's a lot that I get for free in the fact that he's a kid just trying to survive high school in a bad relationship with his dad, right? But on top of that, there's a certain walk, there's a certain voice, there's a way that he says Bob, there's a way that he says Joyce, and those are really satisfying for people to hear. And so for me, it's about choosing three elements, around three elements, and sort of leaning into that, and then allowing and trusting, the spirit of the character and what you know the one and only David Harbour has done with it to sort of be evoked within that space as well while you're doing it.
I recently had a conversation with someone who had spoken a lot with Sondheim because he was at the time in a Sondheim show. And he told me that people would approach Sondheim and be like, Sondheim, I don't think this thing is correct in your show. I'm like, what? What is that? Do people come to you knowing the Hopper they know in this series and go, I don't think this is right?
If they have those feelings, they certainly haven't vocalized them to me. I've had a really positive response, which I'm very proud of, and I'm very thankful for. I want fans to be able to come and experience it. And I want people who have never seen the show to be able to come and fall in love with the character that I've fallen in love with as well. I think the funniest moment is there was somebody out in the at the stage door who was very convinced that this had nothing to do with the next season. And I'm so sorry to tell you, but it is irrevocably linked. Kate was writing both seasons at the same time, and knowing what's going down in season 5, it's almost like, almost everything in the show is leading you to that moment. You can't see season 5 actually without seeing the show to have the full experience. So that's just unfortunately the truth. I guess you're gonna have to come see our show. Oh goodness.
Oh
Oh no. You're gonna have to come see all of us doing our damn thing and enjoy yourselves because it's very tied together. And there's some really sneaky things, even in moments that you wouldn't expect, I would say. Even in moments that, you think, "Oh, maybe the show hasn't started yet or it hasn't finished yet," that you might be finding little notes there. And also, I mean, shout out to our costume designer, Brigitte. I mean, when you wanna talk about detail, right? When you wanna talk about the levels in which this goes, right? When watch the costume design throughout the show. The colors and the patterns are beginning to tie and grow away from and connect with everybody who they're relating to throughout this entire show. And when you're talking about that level of detail,
it's
I'm sorry, friend,
incredible.
it's very tied.
It's
It's very tied.
very
Yeah.
tied.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That being said, one thing that I think is so wonderful about the Broadway show is you actually do not need to have seen a single episode to go see the show. I mean, I have friends who I went with who knew nothing and they still had the best time and were surprised and delighted. And there's so much joy and terror, but mostly joy.
So much terror. I mean, the Scooby Doo element of it all is classic Stranger Things. I mean, it is moments of like, oh, this is horrifying, and what is happening here is actually really troublesome, and like, people are really going through it in that TV show. And let me tell you, I mean, Louis is going through it every day. That is his snot. That is his drool. That is he is living out a 2.5, 245 panic attack for the entirety of the show, and he does that 8 times a week. And in the midst of that, we're making dick jokes. We're making, like, it's like it's so absurd,
So
and
absurd.
yet that is life. That is life happening. And so I do think that people who have no relationship to, I mean, my grandparents, they're in their 90s. They came and saw the show. I was actually a little worried. There's so many like really intense jump scares. I had to like have my mom sort of like warn them when it was going to happen. But they were like row 2. They
They were in
came
the splash
they were in the
zone.
splash zone, they were drinking that smoke, they were drinking that smoke, and my grandfather, looking out, had the biggest smile on his face, and for somebody who hasn't gotten on an airplane in over a decade at this point, right, who made the effort to come and see this show alongside my grandmother, who like, those people, yes, maybe it's because they love me, but they're walking away and they're telling their friends, "Hey, you gotta go see the show, that was a really fantastic experience." And, it's just that's really, really fun, and that's really exciting because it means that nobody it doesn't matter who comes. everybody has a chance to really enjoy themselves.
I just imagine what it must be like when you're doing your curtain call and you look down at your grandma and your grandpa, and they're just so proud of you.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Yeah, it was, it's a yeah, I mean, I keep my grandmother's pearls at my, stage, my sorry, yeah, it, like, makes my brain sort of frazzle. It's, at my, dressing room table. Because I think, I remember when I called grandma for, when was gonna make my Broadway debut in the Rose Tattoo over at Roundabout Theater, Trip Coleman, Marissa Tomei. I mean, I was already excited because I had spent, you know, years thinking about Tennessee Williams and reading Tennessee Williams plays, and the idea that my first professional gig and Broadway debut would be in a Tennessee Williams show, and one of his only joyful, truly joyful expressions, as well, it was just so incredible of an opportunity. But I remember I called my grandmother, and I could hear the shaking of her head, and she just said, I knew this would happen. And I'm so thankful that you allowed me the moment to be able to see it. I've been waiting. I've been waiting. And so to have her hear this, she traveled out to LA for the Back to the Future. They were all in St. Louis when we were there. And they've made the effort and they came and saw the show. They came and saw it multiple times. I mean, like, it just is a real testament to the network of support that not only I have in my family, but when I see it from others. Opening night was such a great opportunity to meet these support networks, whether that's people who are your blood, people who are your friends, people who came out to that show, and who were in that audience, were just so thrilled for the human beings doing their thing on that stage. And, to anybody who is listening, who is maybe questioning whether supporting somebody in the arts is worth your while, I will tell you the amount of joy and love that I have received from those people in my life who have supported me. It is worth it every time. It is worth it every time. It's needed. It's needed.
The pandemic especially showed us the importance of not only showing up, but the importance of consistently giving people their flowers and not waiting until they're gone to say all the nice things. And
Yeah.
I think that's why I get teary eyed hearing about like your grandparents showing up for you because it's not easy. It's how do people show up for you when it is not easy? They
Yeah.
go out of their way to show that they love you. And I think what is really beautiful about Stranger Things is it's a project where people so clearly love what they're doing on stage and they love each other. Like there's really a family on that stage, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of silly, actually. I mean, we have a shared, photo album, and the photos of the day off park shenanigans that were
Yeah.
going down is just, I mean, it's like a Friends reboot, sort of moment, which, if that's gonna happen, please just let us know because we've already got your cast for you.
Love it.
It's really awesome, and it is that 20 different people making their Broadway debuts and countless other people who have been making a life in this industry, making a life in this industry. They have families, they've had other jobs, they've lived other lives, and they still are choosing to be here in this. I think of one of my scene partners, Graham, and I get to do this very funny scene, with him in the second act, and it's very funny because it's Graham doing it, and it's a master of timing, it's a master of giving and receiving, and every single time whenever I get to be in that moment with him, I just think about how beautiful it is that he, was in a place in his life where he was able to give his time and his energy to this, because the community aspect of it, bleeds into itself, right? It's the love of one is the love of million. The enlightenment of one is the enlightenment of million, right? It is that thing that sort of continues to spread and share. Um, yeah, it's very exciting.
I think Stranger Things in itself is just the start for so many other incredible things. This is just the start, especially, I mean, knowing season 5. You have to come see the show. I mean, the Easter eggs, the things that are happening, like, come on, let's go. What is one last thing you'd say to anyone who maybe lives in Indiana
Sure.
and hasn't been to a Broadway show before? What would you say to them?
Yeah. Well, I will say actually, we'll take it a couple states over. We'll go to Nebraska, and we were in Lincoln, Nebraska for only a week for Back to the Future, and at the stage door, there's this little girl, who is there with her father. She's got the Stranger Things upside down New York hat, which is one of the coolest pieces of merch I have ever
It's
seen
so
in my entire
cute.
life. It's super cute. It's super cute. So get yourself one. Come on, New York. Great branding. Go marketing team. Um, she's got her hat donned, and her father looks at me and goes, "We were in Lincoln. We saw you in Lincoln." And she's never seen a Broadway show. She wanted to see this, and she wanted to see you do it. And all she kept saying was, "I cannot wait to come back. I cannot wait to come back." And look, Broadway, uh, sorry to burst the bubble, it's not the only place theater's happening.
Correct.
New
Correct.
York, not the only place that theater's happening. That drama league, when I say they're investing, it's across the country, it's across the world, and it's happening in classrooms. It's happening in a park across from a library. It's happening in the woods with a film camera. It's happening in so many different manifestations. And so yes, you do not need to come to New York, and you do not need to come to Broadway in order to experience art and performance at its highest form. And also, it is a testament to what the arts can do that Broadway exists, that it's important, that people with a lot of money who don't have to think about the arts are still investing in the arts, against all odds, and particularly in a time in which funding is not, there for not only Broadway and not only like New York, but for the United States. Now is your chance to experience love and light. Who is it? Ethan Hawke. He had that whole thing of like, we don't really need art. When the pandemic happened, we shut down. We were not necessary in that regard. But do you know where people turned when they were feeling lost, when they were feeling scared, when they lost somebody, when they missed somebody, when they needed a reminder of what they were doing and why their art was important? They turned to poetry, right? And Ethan Hawke has that great sentiment there, and I think he's 100% right. This is where people will turn to, and if you want that to be there, you know, when you have scary moments in your life, um, be here with us now because we're living, we're breathing, we're doing the thing. It's dancing, it's experimental art, it's performance art, it's art, it's the MoMA, it's the Met, it's the new museum. You know what I'm saying? It's all these different things. There's so many opportunities to be a part of the arts community, and I hope this might be an invitation for you to join us.
Well, Burke Swanson, not related to the Burke Swanson, the Swanson dynasty of soups and
Nope.
broths.
Or Ron Swanson. I
Or
mean,
Ron
look,
Swanson.
if Ron wants to come see the show, I'm totally
Hey,
down for
we
that.
love that.
Totally down for that. If the Swanson Broth family wants to sponsor me and wants to send some soup, I
It
will.
feels right. It feels right.
I think so too. And I've heard they're very tasty. So, like I'm not going to turn that down. But
Well,
cheers.
Burke, thank you for being here with us now.
Thanks for making the
appreciate you
space.
being here.
Thanks.
And thank you for being here on Had to Ask. Now go see the show. I need to go and be scared at Stranger Things.
We've got one later tonight, so you
Got
should
one
be
later?
there. Yeah, let's go.
Amazing.
Cheers.
Yay. Yay. Thank you.
Thank you, babe.
So lovely.
I'm so happy that
I
you're
want all
doing
the
this.
things for you.
This is super exciting.
This episode of Had to Ask was hosted and produced by me, Melanie Sutrathada. Filming, editing, and co-production by the amazing Joseph Loper. Filmed on location at the iconic Stay Gold Suite at the Chatwall in New York City. Make sure to follow, leave a rating, and subscribe. It helps the show grow and gets us one step closer to world domination. See you next time on Had to Ask.